Here are 5 tips that will help you prepare for your performances. One thing that's really funny when you sit down with the guitar after not playing for a little while, when you're getting warmed up, is trying to make sure you realign the intuition of the fingers to the right string. And if you notice that, your hands are cold, you have a hard time figuring out, the index might grab the D when you're trying to hit the high E. And so here's an exercise that I do all the time. I do this every day. I do this before practicing, before a performance, and it helps sort of shorten that distance of reacquainting the tip of the finger to the right string. And so I start with just a C major on this side, and I usually put the G note, put your 3rd finger on the low string, just to give a little bit more beef to that chord. But you could use any chord you want on the left hand. Typically what I do is I'm going to reserve a finger for each string, so the thumb will go on the low E, and then your index on the A. Your 2nd finger is going to go on the D, and then your 3rd finger goes all the way up on the G. And what I do is I strike the string, and I immediately return the finger to the top of the string. That sounds like this, right? So I'm not relying on this hand to mute the string. I'm relying specifically on this right here. And that's doing a few things. As you do this, you're sort of training the fingers to stay as local as possible, because the further they go away from the string, the faster they're going to have to get back in place to play it again. And so you're training, again, the finger intuition to know where those are. So the whole exercise sounds like this. So one thing I really like to do is focus on something on the fretting hand. And this doesn't sound very nice to listen to, but this is one of those really important exercises. It's sort of like eating your musical vegetables. It's really good for you. You're going to start with your 1st finger on the 5th fret of the low E string and just strike that with your 1st finger there. You're going to take your 2nd finger and go to the 6th fret of the A. So we're going up 1 string higher. And we're trying to make an evenness in sound between those two. It's very easy for us to have like a very loud, and then maybe the next one gets a little bit choked. So this is working on just the trajectory of the hammer-on, but also making sure that it's target practice and you're evening out the tone. So then we just go back and forth. The index is going to go to the 5th fret of the D. And then we keep that same pattern going, just 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then I reverse that and do 2, 1, 2, 1. And while I'm doing that, I'm trying to think of, instead of the hammer-on coming from this part of the knuckle here, it's very common for guitar players to do that, think about the hammer-on coming from this part of the knuckle. If you throw a ball, you don't throw from your elbow, right? Or go straight down. Yeah, you use your elbow, but you have to launch from the shoulder. So pretend this is like the shoulder, right, of your hand, and launch the finger there. And when you line this up, I do every finger combination. So I'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3. And after you do this, you are set and ready to go. And you have an evenness in sound, and you're building up the strength in your fretting hand. And it's one of the most important things that I do before I do a performance or play. Another thing I find helpful is to put the left and right hands together, your picking hand and your fretting hand, and I go just basic triad shapes. So I put my 1st finger on the low E string, 3rd finger on the A string on the 5th fret, and then I do the 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the G. All right? And I sort of outline a G major triad, which is just the core recipe, the core ingredients that make up a G major sound. And I just rearrange those. So I'll go, right? And after I do that, I'm starting on the lowest note of the chord, the root. Then I'm starting on the 3rd of the chord, and then I go up to the 5th fret here with the 2nd finger, 1st finger on the G, on the 4th fret there, and then I'm going to do the pinky all the way up here on the 8th fret of the B. And then I end where I started, just 1 octave higher. Right? And so I'll go. And the important thing that I listen for here is the idea of passing the baton to the next note. As guitar players, we really think about, we think about playing in blocks. So we think this shape here, and we take breaks. But what I try to do with this exercise is really think about passing the sound to the next note. So as I'm playing this note, I don't drop that before I hit this. I kind of let it ring just slightly to get to the next note. Sometimes you have to drop the sound, for example, from this one here to get up to here. But in general, I just try to think about, again, don't drop the baton, pass the baton to the next note. Before getting ready to perform, I always have a series of symptoms that are, butterflies in the stomach, sweaty palms, getting nervous, and sometimes it's, a shortness of breath. It's really important to understand that if we're breathing shallow, right, if we're not taking full breaths before, we're sort of limiting the oxygen that goes to the muscles. And what happens then? We feel more tense, right? So I had a teacher that was really helpful with the mental framing of this. When you start to feel that before you go on stage, you get really nervous. You feel like, I would do anything else. Please don't make me go out there. Please don't make me go out there. And he started to help me see that those are all the same symptoms that you have when you're excited about something before you go on a roller coaster. So really rely on your preparation, really practice well for a performance. And when all of those things start to come, you start to feel all of those symptoms, just try to mentally switch it to you're excited. And while you're excited for the performance, take a few deep breaths, just knowing that more oxygen going to the muscles is going to help you stay more calm. And that's been some of the most helpful tips I've had right before I go on stage. A really important thing before a performance is making sure you have a quality sound check. And a quality sound check is making sure that each parameter, from the lowest part that you're going to play to the most dynamic, to the craziest effects, to no effects, make sure that everything that you're doing, you can test. And so what I recommend is, instead of trying to go through long pieces, think about the core sections, or the pinnacle of each piece that highlights those different elements, and practice those when you're doing a sound check. There have been so many times where I don't check the level of my delay or reverb because I'm like, it's good. It was fine last night. It was fine last gig. And then I inevitably go to hit it and the volumes got whacked, or, your pant leg hits it and it goes off. And so it's really important to just make sure you be short and succinct with your sound check, but make sure that you're very thorough. And I find that once I started doing that, that actually helps with the anxiety. Because if I feel like I have a good sound check, I can go back and prepare, so right when I go on stage, I trust and know that it's gonna sound great with no surprises. What I have found is if I hit at least 4, hopefully 5 out of 5 of these preparation techniques, I just find that going on stage, I can more quickly get out of the way and get to the music. The whole point is to really connect with an audience. And so if there's any little things like, this wire looks a little weird on my pedal board, I should have checked that in sound check, or I really noticed once I got on stage, I was really tense. These are just little tips to help you get that out of the way so you can just play the music. Because in the end, that's what we want as performers, and that's what the audience wants as listeners.